Hello, welcome back to the Nook. I'm Daniel, and today I am finally using my new mic. I got it for my birthday. I had to get a part for it. It took some time, but I finally have it. So the audio quality will be a lot better. So what is today's video? Well, today's video is all about this book here, Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson, book 3 of Skyward. So this is a very polarizing book because a lot of people that are fans of the Skyward series didn't care for Cytonic as much. I don't know all the reasoning. It's the third book, but people say the fourth book is really good. That's the one I'm on now. But what did I think about Cytonic? I loved it. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to say this is my favorite book in the series so far. And I'm guessing by the time I finish Defiant, the final book, the fourth book, it'll be my new favorite because they just keep getting better. And usually the last book in a sci-fi or fantasy series is my favorite because it's the climax, it has the final battle. Because always with sci-fi and fantasy, there's some sort of battle going on, depends what kind it is. If there's an invading force, they have to be defeated and good must win. So what is Cytonic? I mean, it really expands the world that we had in Skyward and then Starsight. Starsight expanded from Skyward, and Cytonic takes a closer look at these powers that the main character Spensa has. These powers that are known as Cytonic powers. It allows her to speak into other people's minds. It allows her to send her thoughts at them. It allows her to hyperjump between places. And this is a book that really focuses on Spensa kind of getting a hold of her Cytonic abilities and how she can use those to help in this war. And originally this war is just with these alien forces called the Krell, but she ends up finding out there's a lot more to the war because there's this almost like a celestial being, like a alien force called the Delvers. And the Delvers are the real threat. And Spensa basically is learning how to deal with Delvers and how to combat them, which is different. You can't just shoot them like in a spaceship. They're these kind of otherworldly beings that kind of get inside her head and kind of freak her out. So Cytonic was just an amazing book. It really expanded on the first two. And in it, without spoiling anything, this is a spoiler-free review, I will say, Spensa traveled to a completely different place. In the last book, the ending of Starsight is where Spensa basically hyperjumped into the nowhere. The nowhere is where the Delvers live. But she found when she got to the nowhere, it wasn't just a blank area. It was like she was in a jungle all of a sudden, and there was all of a sudden these other aliens, and then she meets this guy who calls himself an explorer. His name is Chet. And Chet ended up being a really good character. And as usual, honestly, one of the best characters in this entire series is Mbot, the sassy AI. I mean, he's so funny, he's so likable, and he's trying to figure out human emotions. It's almost like he's trying to figure out how to be human himself, even though he's a robot, he's an AI. And in this book, without spoiling anything, I will keep this spoiler free, you get kind of a bigger idea of what AI is, what the Delvers are, and the connections between the Delvers and the AI and Spensa's Cytonic powers. You get more about Cytonics in general. So really, this whole story had a lot of twists and turns. It has some heart-rending moments, and it basically is about Spensa, like I was saying, Spensa kind of just getting into who she is with her powers and what she can do and how she can use that to eventually win this war, because there's this whole force called the Superiority that are trying to use the Delvers to attack Spensa's people. So there's a lot going on, and this book in particular did have a lot of things, a lot of threats Spensa had to deal with, and just figuring out her own powers. And honestly, I loved it. I think it was, one of the better, probably the best book in the series until I finished Defiant. I'm absolutely certain Defiant's going to be my favorite because it's the climax to the whole thing. It'll be explosive. You see, Sanderson, I've never mentioned this before, but Sanderson, in any of his books, whether they're fantasy or sci-fi, he has this climactic thing that happens, and the fans call it the Sanderlanche. And the Sanderlanche is, I mean, it's epic. it's probably more epic in his more epic fantasy. So the sci-fi isn't. I don't find his sci-fi as epic, but it's a different scale. So honestly, this was a really good book. Hopefully, if you end up reading this series and you read the first two and you go into Cytonic, knowing that a lot of people didn't care for it, I would hope that you could actually enjoy it as much as I did, because I thought it was great. It expanded more about Cytonic, the Cytonic power Spencer has. It expanded more of the world. You get to see things from different perspectives. And honestly, you get more answers about the Delvers and about M-Bot being an AI and what that means. You get some interesting revelations about Chet, the new character, but I won't say what it is. And, well, I mean, without saying any spoilers, there's basically space pirates. Space pirates are in this book. So if you like space pirates, I mean, hey, it's great. So yeah, I'd recommend it if you're reading the series. I will say one thing. There is a collection of short stories called Skyward Flight, and it has 3 short stories within that collection. And I am told that to get the best out of reading this series, at some point you would read the entire Skyward Flight collection. I am not doing this. I don't believe in having to go between and read other little stories. It just feels like too much. But if you're interested in this series and you maybe want to get even more depth into what Spencer's teammates were doing while she was in the Nowhere, I would recommend maybe picking up that collection. I might do it myself and read it later. But anyway, yeah, I loved Cytonic. It's my favorite, like I said, and I'm really looking forward to how this series concludes. And yeah, so my next video you can expect will be up sometime next week, possibly on a Monday. That'll be in July, and it will be my review for Defiant, which is the final Skyward book, and I will be finished it at that point. So anyway, remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching, and remember, you're always welcome at the Nook. Bye.